Welcome to Movie World Plus, the place where we talk movies. I'm Andy Signor, and I'm here to review Christopher Nolan's latest Oppenheimer, starring Cillian Murphy, Emily Blunt, Matt Damon, Robert Downey Jr., Florence Pugh, and so many other actors that you're going to be like, wait, they're in this movie too? Look, is this movie well made? Absolutely. Is Christopher Nolan one of our greatest filmmakers? Yes, he is. Does this film have some tremendously amazing sequences, and is it technically brilliant? Yes. These actors are some of the best we got, and these performances are fantastic. But man, I see some of the reviews calling this movie the film of the millennium, and I just didn't get it. And no, I'm not stupid. I mean, I'm not a history buff, and I gotta warn you guys, if you're not a history buff, get ready for a history lesson. Because not only does Nolan decide to sort of spin this movie around with its editing by moving you around from place to place and introduce you to so many characters that it's a lot of work. And yes, I know Nolan likes to do that in his films. He wants to throw you in the deep end and expects you to be there and ready and see the movie multiple times to really fully process it. But I just don't want to see this movie again. Yeah, there's some really fascinating ideas, some really great performances. It is very, for today's, it's just, there's a lot there to discuss. But ultimately, I don't feel like the film really created any feelings in me or in Oppenheimer himself. I just still don't even really understand where he stands. It's just a lot of weird choices that he makes that I feel a lot of people are just sort of, I'm glad they saw it. I didn't see it. My JB who saw it with me, hey JB, he didn't see it. A lot of the people I heard speaking after my screening, they didn't see it. I think this film is aimed to please the Nolanites, and a lot of, cinephiles who are just going to go and, bow at the Church of Nolan. And there's a lot to bow to. Technically, yes, no CGI, a lot of really interesting choices he makes, camera work. There's a lot of good to this movie. I can't completely knock it. But the opening of this film, it's like, it's a fast sprint along history. And I just didn't come prepared. I mean, I know about communism and I know about the Manhattan Project and a lot of stuff that they're going to throw you. But then suddenly out of nowhere, wait, is that Einstein? Right. He's in this period. There's just a lot to process. And you got that on top of the fact that Nolan's introducing you to countless characters right out the gate. And you're moving through time periods. He's also changing it from black and white to color. I know he has a reason for it, but I didn't know it when watching it. I think it's like the ones that are from Oppenheimer's perspective is color. The rest is black and white when it's not his perspective or some choice like that. But these like very heady ideas and choices that Nolan makes that for me added a level of pretentiousness to the film that took me away from the real heart of the story, which is supposed to be him and these challenges he's facing and the world that is built after he creates this bomb that could destroy it all. There's so many big themes and ideas and choices that are at stake in this film. And at times the film really does deliver in what's going through. But ultimately, I felt like it under-delivered on the promise of this character and the struggle that he's facing. Yes, there's some obvious stuff that we see, his regret as he has, celebrating the bomb's been built. And then he realizes what this means, and he has a quiet moment with Nolan audio mixing of just a really good sequence, especially knowing that there's no visual effects, of sort of the horrors of what that means. There are those very clear hit you in the head moments, but I never really got to see a moment or where Nolan stands on what Oppenheimer himself really feels about it all. He kind of coats through the second half of the film, and that's honestly when the film is more interesting. The first half of the film is like the history and Oppenheimer trying to like run up the ranks, and you get to see that he was really sort of a star in the world of, physics and stuff. And slowly the film gets closer and closer to realizing with the war and what's happening that yes, they have to race to sort of who's going to build this first, Germany, Russia, etc. And he's trying to like be positioned to be the guy who does it. He wants to make the name for himself, and everyone around him his whole life has told him, you're going to make the world a better, different place. Like everyone sees the brilliance in him, and there's a pressure to that. Sure. But I never like really felt it. Yes, Cillian Murphy's delivering what Nolan's asking him for. He gives a wonderful performance. But for me personally, I just couldn't get as engaged to this character that I thought I would. You want to either root for him or not. And the only time I rooted for him is after we see the bomb go off, how the government and the world treated him afterwards. there's sort of a trial, if you will, afterwards that sort of really ups the stakes. And I would say even the most tense parts of the film where you're like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? What happened at the end? I didn't know what happened to him at the end. Still kind of don't. But there's just a part in the last act as they're building the bomb, the reveal of pushing the button, and then the aftermath are where the film does definitely shine for me. I like those parts a lot better. And I will say I recommend that part of it. But it's a little bit of a slog to get there. And it's definitely a lot of work for the viewer. A lot of you are going to be expecting that and tell me I'm being dumb for wanting him to dumb it down. I don't want him to dumb it down. In fact, I think parts of this movie were dumbed down to a point where it's like obvious what the themes are. Like I get the themes. What I was more hung up with is just he's throwing a lot of data at you. And I guess I'm older and slower. Fine, make fun of me for it. But it was just hard to digest. And for this type of movie, a history biopic, with some exciting ideas and pacing that he's trying to keep you invested in, it ultimately flounders at times because it was just too much for me. And it at times really does feel pretentious. Nolan is just very, very full of himself. And in some ways I could argue, yeah, he deserves it. He's one of our best filmmakers. I will admit that. He really is. He makes wonderfully amazing, original, visually stunning cinematic films. I love a lot of his films. The Prestige, I think, is very underrated. Insomnia is fantastic. I love Inception. Interstellar, I've had issues with parts of that plot, but I still find moments of the film to be really amazing and beautiful and well done. Look, he's got a lot of them. I wasn't a huge fan of Tenet or Dunkirk, to be honest. Both of those films started this idea of like, no matter what he does, it's brilliant. And I didn't find either of them as engrossing. And this one's another one where I'm like, it's better than those two for me, but it still has this sort of level of anything he does is genius and you can't question him. If you question him, you're dumb. You don't get it and you don't deserve to enjoy this. You just missed the point, Andy. It goes over your head. But no, I'd argue, I think a lot of Nolan just enjoys the smell of his own farts. There's just a level there where you just, and I've seen interviews promoting this film where him and the cast just awe of him and just in front of him as he sits there like, yes, tell me how great I am. I know. And then you just watch it and it does leave this sort of weird taste where I'm like, sure, you've deserved this. You've earned it. You've worked your butt to get here. And yes, you are a great director and actors love working with you and they give great performances in your movies. Sure. But sometimes even the greatest creators still need to take some notes. And I don't know. I think the editing of this film, some of the creative choices just didn't ultimately make it work for me. Now, I want to end here on some positives. The acting's great. Like, the acting is great. He does a great job getting the actors there, and Cillian does deliver. Everyone's hyping up his performance, and it's justified. Really great. My issues with him are more about the script than him, of just like, I never really know where he feels. He's given me the best faces and a lot of stoic faces and worry and regret. But I still never really, there's no scenes there where I really feel like I understand what he's going through. Robert Downey Jr., to me, is the standout. I think he was the performance of the movie. I was really pleasantly surprised to see him have such a meaty role. He's in it a lot in the beginning more, and he's this sort of a senator who's helping Oppenheimer. And it's really great to see him outside of the MCU. I know I read an article too where he was like, I don't know if I can do acting. I'm so, for a decade, I've been in this Marvel world, and to see him back in acting and to deliver the way he's doing, it's just really nice to see. And I want to see more of Robert Downey Jr. in these meatier, good acting roles instead of Iron Man stuff. It's really nice to see. And I'm glad Nolan put him in this to give him that opportunity. Matt Damon, again, I think this is one of Matt Damon's best. It's an interesting character, this general who sort of goes toe to toe with Oppenheimer and is able to, like, well, Oppenheimer's tilted as the genius and whatever, like Matt Damon's the genius of this sort of, he's in charge and making this whole thing go together, and they're working together in a way that I like the performance. He's unlikable at times, but that's sort of what the character's supposed to do. But ultimately, I was really impressed with the performance. And yeah, Emily Blunt's good. She gives a good performance. The character itself, I wish there was a little bit more to it. But when they do give her time to shine, she really delivers. She's a really great actress. And Florence Pugh has a little part in this movie that I was just really impressed by, and a character that I kind of wanted to see more of. Anyway, I don't want to spoil things, but there's one scene in particular with her. It's an adult scene where he's in his trial mode, and then Nolan makes this choice. You'll know the scene when it happens. And again, moments like that where you're like, whoa, really well done from a directing's perspective. Nolan does have some really good moments. So look, Overall, I would recommend and say this is a well-made film, but I would just warn you all to not drink all the Kool-Aid out there. If you're a Nolanite who loves Christopher Nolan at all costs, if you're at the Church Nolan, well, get ready. You're going to love his sermon, and this one's going to deliver for you. If you're a major cinephile who loves these complicated, historical, big cinematic masterpieces, well, get up and bring the straw. You're going to suck it all up. But I would say to the more mid-ground, cinema goers, just get ready. Just maybe not get yourself prepped. Maybe read a couple Wikipedia articles beforehand and gear up, because it's a lot. It's a lot to sort of digest. And he expects you to really be up and ready. And he's going to want you to watch it multiple times. For me, it's not one I'm ready to watch again anytime soon. I'll give it a mark. Good job, Nolan. I got to support filmmakers like him. So ultimately, I'm not ragging on it. But I do think it's a little bit, some of the stuff I'm seeing out there, I think people are just dying for more good movies. And yeah, this one's a good movie. It is a good movie. But in a world of, if we had better choices, which we just don't have as many, I think more might see some faults in this that they're ignoring just because Nolan! All hail Christopher Nolan. So overall, that's my thoughts. I look forward to your hate. I'm just not going to read it. I just don't care. This channel is for fun for me, and I appreciate you guys finding me and watching. If you want to hear more of my takes, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for all alerts, and leave a comment down below. I'd love for you guys to argue down there. But I appreciate all you guys. Thanks for hearing me out. Are you going to see it? Are you excited for it? Help the engagement down below. I'll be back with reviews of Haunted Mansion. I don't know if I'm going to review Barbie. They didn't let us go. They only let Rotten Tomato critics go. And that kind of annoys me. And I've never had a movie do that. And I know it's not just because they hate me. I've talked to a lot of other critic friends. And yeah, really weird choice. But we'll see. Maybe I will. My kid wants to see it. But tell me if you want me to review it anyway down below. But stay tuned. More is coming here on Movie World Plus. Thank you guys so much for watching. And stay tuned for more movie reviews and news.